Okay, we welcome you back. Yes, it is another edition of Inside Boxing Live, presented by PPV.com. It is Dan Canobio. It is champion Chris Algieri rocking the dueling New York Yankee hats. And this episode, as every episode, is brought to you by PPV.com, the leader in pay-per-view events. Order Canelo versus Berlanga on PPV.com. Join us in the live interactive chat. I'm having a lot of fun in these live chats, getting to talk to the fans. Jim Lampley will be in that live chat. Chris will be in that live chat. Lance Pugmire will be in that chat. So it's a really fun, interactive way to order the fight. You can stream it on your phone, your tablet, any device, big screen TV. And the best part about it is there's no subscriptions. We're never going to ask you to get locked in for a year. You can go fight to fight. And Canelo-Berlanga is the next big one that we will be carrying on PPV.com. So order Canelo-Berlanga through PPV.com. They are wonderful partners for us. They allow us to do this show twice a week, send us to big fights, do all that great content that we've been providing you guys. So PPV.com is the place to go for Canelo-Berlanga and future pay-per-view events. A lot to talk about on this episode, Chris. How are you?
I am great. A little sweaty. I just got back from a little workout. Rushing to get here with you guys.
Nice. I just made I saw your story. You had like a little bacon, egg, and cheese on it. I had myself a fried egg, avocado, turkey bacon on a gluten-free bagel.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Very good.
You're an anti-gluten guy. I forgot about that.
I'm a glutite. Yes,
Glutite.
I can't have gluten. If I have gluten, I will be in trouble.
You listeners hearing that? This guy would die if he ate a bagel. This guy.
It's hard being an Italian man in New York. It's hard traveling on the road, bro. After a big fight, just bring out pizza.
Florida. Move to Florida. The bread and the pizza both suck here, and there's no bagels that are to speak of. So
Yeah,
you'd be fine down here.
I'd be fine. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but like on the road, it's really hard. Traveling a lot more. Breakfast is hard, and after fights, like if you want to grab a quick bite, they just bring out a pizza, or like oh my god, yeah, maybe I'll get a gluten-free sponsorship next for Inside Boxing Live. There are a few brands that I mess with that are really really good. Yeah, so we have a big show planned for you today. We have voicemails, a lot of voicemails. Love that from our fans. Going to have a quick look back at some of the best Puerto Rican versus Mexico fights. As we gear up for Canelo-Berlanga. There's some absolute classics in there. Going to preview Derevyanchenko versus Christian Mbilli. You'll be on the call once again for ESPN in Quebec City. Wow, look at you working like a dog. And some headlines as well. Are you ready for Quebec? Are you ready for Mbilli? Are you ready for Quebec City?
I am.
Have you even decompressed from Albuquerque?
Yeah, man, this is our second podcast of the week since Albuquerque. I've already been to, I've done multiple shows on ProBox. There's no rest. There's no rest here at all. And there's not going to be until October. Actually, there's not going to be rest till the end of the year. Like, it's just going to be nonstop until the end of the year. A little reprieve there over the holiday. But in terms of Quebec City, I'm excited. I'm hearing great things about this city, especially this time of year. So I'm actually going in a little bit early so I can actually have a Thursday night. I normally try and get in like early Friday and just get right to work. But I'm going to have a little bit of a Thursday night in Quebec City.
Nice. I'm excited to hear about it, and I'm excited to watch it on the call. We'll preview that fight, which I think is going to be a banger. Just some quick headlines before we get started. There's some things going on in the boxing world. Terence Crawford has vacated his WBO welterweight title. This is a move that we saw coming. I mean, he's fought at 154, hasn't fought at 147 since last summer when he beat Errol Spence. This was a formality. But Brian Norman is now elevated to full champ. I know you hate the elevated champ, but that's the era that we're living in. WBO champion is now Brian Norman to go along with, I think, Barrios. I think Boots is in the IBF. So Crawford's belts are all dispersing. And
I think Stanionis has one too.
Stanionis, yes. It's not a bad division. Like, it's way better shape than 160. Norman is very fun. Boots is Boots. Stanionis is a monster. And you get some other guys maybe moving up to 140, from 140 to 147, like a Teofimo or Devin Haney. We kind of saw this coming. Like, Brian Norman is now elevated. Terence Crawford drops his WBO belt, and now we see what happens at 147.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a good weight class. And I don't want to say I don't dislike Brian Norman. I dislike the idea of these elevated champs through email. I feel like you got to fight, even if you're interim champion. That's not a champion. you should have to fight somebody else. If the belt becomes vacant, I don't think you should get elevated. I think you should have to fight the next guy in line, and there is now the champion. But that's just me talking from my soapbox at the moment.
Well, I don't think anyone would disagree with you there.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I think a lot of fighters would want that too.
Yeah, guys want to fight. And I think it's a different thing. And I've spoken to fighters about this, and I've heard other fighters speak it well. It matters how you get your title. If you win your title from a vacant position against somebody nobody's heard of, it's not the same as when you beat the champion. If you're not fighting another top contender for a vacant title, it matters. It matters to you. We all know inside how important, how big a win really is, and how being a real champion is all about. So these kind of things, I think it takes away from the fighter themselves. I don't think they're doing anyone a service by just elevating them.
No, it's not. But that's the case, and it's going to keep on happening. But what it means for 147 is Teofimo was rumored to be fighting Brian Norman, and that was going to be a big September fight that Top Rank was trying to put together. But this is something that Teofimo was calling for too, which is strange. But he is now, according to himself, Teofimo, the source, has turned down that fight and says he wants to fight in Los Angeles, which is just a kind of a strange request. It's I fought in New York 9 times. I fought in Vegas 4 times. That's what he was telling Boxing Scene. And I fought on a Thursday night last time. I don't want to do any of that. I want to fight in Los Angeles. And that's his latest. And maybe against Jose Venezuela.
Does he know about taxes? I don't think no fighter wants to fight in LA. No fighter wants to fight in California. If we have a choice, we want to fight in Vegas, we want to fight in Florida, we want to fight in Texas. Well, not Texas because of judging. That's the whole thing.
Still,
right? It's still bad judging in Texas, right?
Bad judging in Texas, but no taxes. Well,
no taxes, baby.
You are literally just one or the other. You might get screwed in the ring, but you won't get screwed by Uncle Sam.
The bank account. Yeah.
So pick how you're getting screwed. Pretty much. I haven't thought about it like that. That's why you're...
Hands down, the best place to box is Vegas, because Florida's tough because the crowds don't really come out. Texas, you got to deal with the judges, and Vegas that's where people come to. People want to come for an event. It's very easy to get in and out of that town. It is a fight town. They make it very easy for fighters and people coming to visit. So, yeah, I don't understand wanting to fight in California and pay California taxes.
It just doesn't make any sense. I never heard a fighter like turn down a fight because they have a different venue in mind. Usually they have a different fighter in mind. Usually they have a different plan in mind. He's upset with Top Rank. He says, "I'm your only star." This is all from Teofimo. This isn't just paraphrasing. This isn't just hearsay. This is what he told Boxing Scene. He said, "I'm Top Rank's last remaining star. I'm tired of these take it or leave it deals that they've given me." Apparently, they're offering him a September Friday night card against Brian Norman for a WBO title. He's talking about wanting to fight Boots. He's talking about wanting to go up to 154 to fight Terence Crawford. He says there's no one left for him at 140. He said everyone keeps losing. He's also said, "I want to fight Jose Valenzuela." He's all over the place, which is not anything surprising. But if you want to fight Crawford, who seems a little tied up at the moment, if that's your main goal, right? That's got to be the main thing for Teofimo. For Crawford, his main thing is, I want to fight Canelo. Benavidez wants to fight Canelo. Everyone has their eyes on what they want. And for Teofimo, the big money fight for him is Crawford, and that's at 154. So if that's what you want down the road, say a year from now, wouldn't it make sense to go to 147 to casually build your way up to fight a Brian Norman, a fight that you could win, you will be favored to win?
That's not the way that Teofimo's mind operates. It's not the way he likes to fight. It's kind of similar to the Terence Crawford, the Errol Spence idea that I don't do tune-ups. I go to big fights. And I think Teofimo Lopez is starting to realize that he fights to the level of his opposition. And he does great when he fights the big-time guys, when he fights the top guys. And he struggles when he fights the guys that, for whatever reason, he doesn't perceive as being trouble or dangerous or at the status that he deserves. So I think he might be trying to bypass any other of these keep busy fights, even though he says he wants to keep busy, and go right to the source with these big fights that are going to be good for not only his bank account, but also his status. Because that's what he was saying before the last fight, status fights. He wanted Isaac Cruz because it was good for his status. He wants to fight Terence Crawford, obviously it's good for his status. Now he's starting to call out Jaron Ennis. That's gonna elevate his status. Rayo could elevate his status because of the big win, and people know who he is now. But the other guys in the division, not really that much. And a guy like Brian Norman, status-wise, other than getting a belt at 47, if he is to win, fight doesn't really help him, and I understand why he would look to go elsewhere.
I mean, what's more of a status thing? becoming a champ at 147, which would be another weight class, or unifying with Venezuela, which won't lead to much at 140?
For me, I think he's missing the idea because he already has 2 huge names on his record and he's not where he wants to be. So maybe stop chasing names and start chasing titles. Titles matter. If he unifies 140, which 140 is a tough division, it's kind of a weird division. It's been turned upside down recently. But listen, you're a unified champ. That matters these days. There's a lot of status that comes from that, even if you don't beat the best guys in the world. He's already, like I said, he's got Lomachenko and a surging Josh Taylor on his record. Those are 2 awesome fighters that he beat. And, he's got a world title, but, he's not where he wants to be. So maybe it's not the names. Maybe it should be the titles that he's looking for.
Yeah, so it's been the what titles. Is he want the 140 unification and then go to 147 from there? Or does he want 147 and go to Crawford? But that's the latest with how this Bud.
That's a tough weight class to unify 147. He's going to have to go up and wait. He's not a big guy. He's not a big 40 pounder. I don't know. 47, he's going to be really undersized.
I think he's just frustrated. I think he's 27 now. He had that big win over Lomachenko. Would you say?
He's definitely frustrated.
Seems like a frustrated guy. Seems like he should be a bigger star. Looks around, sees Haney with a bigger profile. Ryan Garcia obviously has a bigger profile, but is a psycho. And he looks around at some of the others, like Tank is obviously much bigger than Teofimo, but you could make a case that Teofimo has the best raw ability. Him and Tank, I still think him and Tank's the fight. There's so many options for him. He's all over the place. As to stay at 140, to go to 147. I want to fight Boots. I want to fight Crawford. It's crazy. He has almost too many options, which
it's also money too. Teo hasn't made the money. Like you mentioned Haney, and Haney's brand has taken a real hit in recent months, but the kid has made a ton of money.
So much money.
And Teofimo has not. Teofimo doesn't have the status that he deserves. He does not have the money he deserves. So I get the frustration. You mentioned his talent. His talent is through the roof. And he knows that. People around him know that. But he has not achieved the recognition that you would think would come along with that talent.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very well put. And just like any other industry or profession, it doesn't have to be just professional boxing or sports. Like you look around and see some of your colleagues or your contemporaries making more than you or getting more, promoted and this, that, and the other. You feel a certain way. And that's how Teofimo's feeling. Speaking of Devin Haney, he tweeted out that he is eyeing a return. He said the game hasn't been the same since I've been gone. Turkey replies, see you soon in Riyadh. So maybe we could see Devin Haney in Saudi Arabia. Are you surprised he would come back this quick? I thought for sure he would sit out the rest of 2024, given the type of beating that he took and also just the emotional trauma. That was quite the ordeal, him and Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I think he should take a year off, honestly.
Or at least through the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say stay completely out of the gym until the end of the summer and then just get back to being an athlete again, no contact. Brain health is serious, and brain takes a while to recover and heal. He took a lot of big punches from a very big puncher in that fight, got dropped a few times, getting your bell rung. That has lasting effects, and if he has the option to stay out, I would tell any fighter who's coming off of a bad or a dangerous fight like that to take time off. I mean, I didn't have that option because my windows were short, but if you get hurt and you get dropped, you need time. Because chins don't last, man. And the more time you have to rest to recover, the better off you are. So I'm surprised he's back this quick.
Who knows? Maybe he's just bored and just shooting off tweets, seeing how the response is. Yeah, I forgot how much he's hated because we posted something on our social media and it's don't come back and stay where you were. We're just fine without you. I'm like, God,
where did the hate come from? It's been such a push. It's crazy.
This guy got freaking on the raw end of the Ryan Garcia deal, a cheater, and he got up. He didn't make too many excuses. Yes, I understand. His dad maybe rubs you the wrong way. I don't want to get deep into why Devin Haney's hated because I feel like he spent so much time on that. But I just got reminded today when I posted that. I saw some of the immediate comments. But he will return. Devin Haney will be back. It's just a matter of when and at what weight class. Is it at 147? Where I think there are some big fights for him. He wouldn't be the biggest 147-pounder in terms of height. Curious to see where he goes.
I think he can actually handle the guys at 47 right now. It's definitely tougher because a lot of his style had to do with him having a size advantage. He was a good boxer and he was quick, but he's also bigger than everybody. Mm-hmm. And we saw what happened with Ryan when he's not bigger than somebody, he struggles. And guys at 40, Definitely bigger, but he's a big 40 pounder. But 47, he is not going to be the bigger man with those guys like Mario Barrios. That guy's huge. He's super tall. He's long. Even Brian Norman.
Boots.
Brian Norman's thick, man. He's a real 47 pounder. But I do think he can handle those kind of guys, especially with the style that he employs and having such great endurance. But he's got to be a real boxer. I don't see him knocking people out at 47.
What he could do is sit out until April of next year when Ryan Garcia's suspension is up and give us one of the most anticipated rematches in recent memory, because that is going to sell. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There is so much animosity. There's so many storylines that took over the boxing world. That was up to this point. I would say it's probably Usyk. Usyk defeating Fury, and then a close second is the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney build-up fight and aftermath in terms of biggest moments of 2024.
Dude, I might argue with that one. I might think Ryan Haney is bigger than Usyk Fury,
and I would agree with you because we're talking about that.
It's blasphemous to say it, but I do think so,
bro. Because they're just bigger name. Like it just transcended boxing and went into like mainstream pop culture. Yeah, like Ryan Garcia is now into the mainstream and with his wild takes and his crazy beliefs that outside of boxing. So that leaked out of boxing and then out of sports and just into the mainstream, that build up, and then the failed drug test. And I just think that obviously is what something they will fight again. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. There's way too much money on the line. But I'm curious if Haney fights again before that, which obviously I don't think it's the best idea for him. That's what Devin Haney. Lastly, on our headlines, Chris, I'm making up my own headline right here. Please, promoters, fighters, and any fans out there, stop using CompuBox as a argument as to why you thought a fighter won a fight. For those of you who don't know, many of you do know who watch this show and listen, that my father created CompuBox in 1985. Next year, we will be celebrating 40 years in the business. And since day one, he has said this service is not meant to score a fight. It is not meant to determine a winner. It is simply a barometer of activity. It is simply a tool for broadcasters. It is simply a guide for fans to see what's going on in the ring, use your eyes, and also have the numbers next to you. So in the case of this Virgil Ortiz fight against Sergey Bohachuk, Oscar started off the festivities by sharing the CompuBox stats and said, "You don't know shit about boxing." With the CompuBox stats, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is gonna open up a can of worms. My dad's gonna see it. He's gonna text me it." I actually texted him it. Ryan Garcia responds and says, "Oh man, you can't use CompuBox to score a fight." True, Ryan. Okay. Ryan then tweets separately. I didn't send you this, Chris. Ryan tweets, "I've never been a fan of CompuBox." Ryan Garcia says, I have seen numerous instances where they have not counted my punches and then gave my opponent too many, which is the number one critique I hear from boxers. And I've heard it from a lot of boxers, and I'll hear it from more boxers in the next 40 years. Every fighter thinks they landed more, and every fighter thinks they weren't hit. So, Brian, you're wrong, and you are going crazy with the tweets. Then, Chris, I'm on this rant that I'm on right now. I gotta take a breath.
Let him cook. Let him cook, guys. Let him cook.
Cooking right now. Tom Loeffler then takes the numbers. He tweets them in his argument that Bohachuk won, despite Virgil Ortiz outlanding Bohachuk in every category, landing more power shots, landing more body shots. But Loeffler didn't quite understand how the numbers worked and used it for Bohachuk winning. Then I see fans using in the stats, and I see fans not using stats. Just wanted to put it out there that it was never intended to score a fight. It was never intended to prove who won. And this is coming from CompuBox itself. Like, this is the official statement. I'm taking over the statement here. It's just funny to watch. I like Oscar tweeting out the stats and all that. Good publicity. But it should never be a way to score a fight, because you have to use your eyes and then look at the stats and say, "Oh wow, look at that. He threw this many punches that round," or use it as a reference point. Or Virgil Ortiz, he really went to the body. All right, he landed over 100 body shots in that fight. That's how you should use it. Never to score a fight. Rant over.
Never to score a fight. As a broadcaster, I'll tell you, like it's just, your dad used a good word, a barometer of. Listen, the CompuBox numbers should mirror what you feel while you're watching the fight. It's normally like, oh, I think this, it seems like he landed more punches. I think let's check it. Yep. Okay, good. Confirms what I thought. That's what, that's really what it's for. And then sometimes it can be a little bit off, or you'll be like, all right, well, I can put that away now. I don't need that. I know what I saw. This is subjective. Boxing is not scored objectively. We don't go by numbers. So CompuBox is not used to score fights. It is it is a subjective score for each round, and CompuBox is a tool that you can use basically to confirm what you're saying. Otherwise, it's not going to change. CompuBox does not change the outcome of any round from a judging standpoint.
They don't see it.
People don't understand. That's, again, as a broadcaster, guys, we don't see the numbers. So
no, the judges don't see it.
No, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, the judges don't see it, but like for the most part, I will say like the fighter that lands the most punches is usually going to win the fight. There are some rare instances where like a guy down on the cards gets a knockout, or a guy there's like a 40 punch difference over 12 rounds. Do the math.
Well, I've always noticed when guys get close to the 50% power punching landed, you're going to get a stoppage almost always. Right. When you guys and if a guy's landing half, even if he's not a puncher, if you're landing half of your power shots, you're probably going to get knocked out.
Yeah, that was like a Lampley started that observation of his as well. Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but that's why it's fit in so well for the last 40 years, is because boxing is a subjective sport. Boxing is a sport that raises arguments, opinions. There's a lot of human element to boxing, with whether it's judging, whether it's a referee. So CompuBox has slid in as a controversial tool. It's gone. We can't figure out, or we can't help how fans are going to use it and how promoters are going to use it for or against their guys. We just put out the numbers, and then it's kind of taken a mind of its own over the last like 15 years in terms of promoters using it to, this is why my guy won, kind of like what Oscar's doing, and Tom Loeffler. Yeah. And Loeffler's hilarious, man. He's been posting a lot of
should do. You know what Oscar should have done? You want to use objective data. Show the judges' scorecards. Like, this is why my guy won, because the judges had it winning. That's
the end all be all. I appreciate. It's nice to see the stats being thrown out there and being used in discussions. But if zero dictate, we don't pick a winner. Like we don't have any say who wins. The judges do. And Loeffler is hilarious. He's very passive aggressive. One of the nicest guys in boxing. But he'll put out a few tweets over the last week about why he thought Boachuk won. He'll show a picture of their faces. Look at Boachuk after the fight in the media center. He was fine. And then your guy was sent to the hospital. That's another thing, too. It's like, come on, guys, like the facial, without scoring fights of whose face.
Score damage. Yep.
It's another debate, too, coming from this fight. Is a lot like the damage debate. And, yeah, just wanted
a lot of people thought Boachuk won. Tim Bradley was saying that he 100% thought Boachuk won. Paulie was saying
it was the knockdowns.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, it was a super close fight. I thought that Virgil edged it and got the win. But I wouldn't be mad if it was a draw. It was a very, very close fight. I actually thought it might be. As I'm watching, I'm like looking at the scores, but I thought Virgil pulled away with that late rush. Finishing strong at 11-12 is really important. And I think that was very evident in terms of who's finishing. Whoever finishes the fight, on top, should matter, because even if you do have a rematch, you're bringing that momentum. I don't care who you are. You're bringing that momentum. You've got a guy figured out to a certain degree. Yeah. So that matters.
I love to see them rematch, but I just don't see it. Never
happen. Which is why I haven't really brought it up, because should they? Yeah, because they're close enough to warrant it. Absolutely. I don't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a really close fight. Should they fight again? Definitely. Will they? Absolutely not. There's no reason.
That's not.
There's no money in that. It's way too close.
No. Virgil, you survive in advance when you're at this stage in Virgil Ortiz's career.
Yep.
There's not a lot of money in that fight. It's not a huge fight. You won. You narrowly won. Put it in your rear view and look to Crawford. Keep it moving. Like Boachuk's his side is gonna be calling for the rematch. You're not gonna hear Virgil Ortiz calling for a rematch. So maybe down the road,
a month from now, no one's gonna talk about this.
Exactly. Probably a couple days from now, no one's gonna talk about it. That's just how boxing works. Let's get to our fight preview. Chris, you'll be on the call once again.
I'll be on the call for international. I won't be on the ESPN call. So
you're on the call, all right, in some capacity. You're getting the check.
I'll be in Quebec.
You'll be in Quebec, and you'll be getting a check after it. Christian Mbilli is fighting Sergey Derevyanchenko. Intriguing fight at 168 for a number of reasons. Mbilli, if you haven't watched him fight, you should definitely tune in. He is an absolute whirlwind of offensive dynamo, a juggernaut. He's ranked number 1 by the WBC, which is very important. He's ranked number 2 by the WBA. He's ranked number 3 by the IBF and number 3 by the WBO. I usually don't bring up these rankings because they're cockamamie half the time, but
Good word.
I'm firing right now.
Good word.
Mbilli is at 168 pounds. Who's at 168 pounds right now? Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo is fighting the Mbillis of the world with Edgar Berlanga, who's getting this kid. They're justifying the fight between Berlanga because he's number one with the WBA, and Canelo is satisfying his mandatory in Berlanga. Well, Christian Mbilli is knocking at the door in every organization, and Canelo's talking about wanting to fight again in December, and he's also not talking about wanting to fight Benavidez. So Christian Mbilli has another really good performance against Derevyanchenko. I mean, he is in the discussion to potentially fight Canelo Alvarez. That is not a crazy statement.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I think that's the way it's going. But listen, man, I'm talking to a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh no, Canelo's going to avoid him." I'm like, "Really? What makes you think that?" I think people think Mbilli's a lot better than he is.
He would get blasted by Canelo.
I have not been that impressed with him. He's definitely been on a run. He's definitely been getting better. He's been improving, and I do expect him to win this weekend. But I mean, the people around the top rank were saying like, "Oh no, if Canelo's not going to fight Mbilli," I'm like, "Why not?" That's the exact kind of guy that he is fighting these days. Munguia, Berlanga, Mbilli. I think that's all like the same kind of level guy. They're good, but they're not going to beat a Canelo.
Not only that, Mbilli. I'll give you these punch stats like CompuBox. 85 punches per round, Chris.
Jeez.
That's the middleweight average. Super middleweight average is 51.2. Yeah. This is over his last 5 fights where he's really come on and had some good wins. 85 punches around over his last 5 fights. That is the super middleweight average is 51. So he's well above the 168 average. His opponents are bewildered by it because they're only throwing 50 punches around. That's a 35.3 per round punch differential that is seldom seen. I'm taking this is verbatim from our wonderful Lee Groves, who writes our CompuBox stats, our packages, previews. He's awesome. Shout out Lee Groves. He says that's very seldom seen at the highest level of the sport, and Mbilli is at the highest level at 168. So, like a 30 punch difference in terms of what he is throwing to what his opponents is throwing, and he's also landing 43% of his total punches, 26% of his jabs, 51% of his power shots. We just talked about when you get over that 50% mark, you are doing damage, and he's only getting hit with 21%. And 28% power. Yes, the talent level isn't exactly high, but I mean these are professionals. They're all getting paid. Mbilli has averaged 36 connects per round. To put that in perspective, like Andy Ruiz and Canelo and Gervonta Davis throw 36 punches around. Mbilli is landing 36 around.
That's crazy.
So this guy his last 5 fights has been a man possessed in terms of offense. With that being said, like that would not that we're talking about a Canelo fight yet, but I feel like that plays right into Canelo's hands. Will it play into Derevyanchenko's hands? Who, man, this guy's been through it all, the gauntlet. He's never been stopped either, Derevyanchenko. What do you think he's at in his career?
This fight, I mean, Derevyanchenko is a tough out for literally everyone. Super, super tough guy.
Never been stopped.
Really difficult to deal with. He fought Jaime Munguia to the fight of the year last year. Munguia needed a last round knockdown to win the fight. So that's a big deal. It really depends on how much he has left. He's been in a lot of tough fights. He's 38 years old. He's fighting a weight class that he really doesn't belong in. He's really a middleweight. That's where his best fights were at. The fight with Triple G was probably his breakout performance or his best performance. A lot of people thought he won that night. But yeah, I think that it's going to be really difficult at 38 and up a weight class to fight a guy who's young and huge, really big for the weight class. And that activity. Sergey's an activity guy. He's going to fight a younger, bigger activity guy. So, I mean, if Sergey at 100% would have trouble in this fight because of the size, and the age, but he's had a lot of tough fights. We're really going to depend how much he has left in the tank. But either way, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has fight of the year candidate written all over it, depending on Derevyanchenko's what he has left. I mean, what could the old got old overnight adage?
Yep.
Could potentially come into play here. I don't think so. I think Derevyanchenko's just that tough, that rugged. 20 fights he's had. He's 15-5.
I know he is the toughest 15-5 fighter you're ever going to see.
Right, and he has the respect of a lot of boxing fans. Like they all know that he's been in there with the cream of the crop. I mean, 20 fights, and Jacobs, Golovkin, Charlo Adames Munguia. Those are just like the bigger names. He's also had some really good fights on there as well. That Golovkin fight was the most brutal fight that I've ever watched live. Were you there?
I was not.
It was at MSG.
I know it was at
and
MSG. He got dropped right away, and then he came back.
It was the
like
beginning of the
roaring.
end. Yeah, it was beginning of the end for Golovkin in terms of his decline.
Yeah, he got human. He got human that night.
He did. And they just stood in the center and traded. And I remember it was just so bloody and so brutal. I remember walking away from the arena that night saying, like, this is what I do for a living. Like, this is my job, is to sit that close and watch these guys just beat each other senseless. Like, sometimes I do feel like that. Like, I feel like, oh my God, like, what did I just watch? Like, that was crazy. Like, those are the types of fights that Derevyanchenko finds himself in. And I want to see if he can do that or push Mbilli, who is clearly like surging right now. I'm trying to get the odds on this. Love this fight though. I think if Derevyanchenko has enough left, and the fact that he's never been stopped, and then you have Mbilli on the other side who is just dicing through everyone, it's a perfect stylistic matchup, and I think it could produce fireworks, especially if Mbilli is on his game.
Yeah, and he's going to need to be. I mean, if Mbilli isn't the real thing, he's going to lose. But there's a lot of hype behind him. I think he's young enough and big enough, and I think he is good enough to get by Derevyanchenko at this point. Derevyanchenko's like a high-level gatekeeper at this point, which I hate using that term, but that's really what he is. Because you got it to get Munguia beats Derevyanchenko. Who's he get? Canelo. That's part of Charlo beat him. So it's you got to get past a guy like Derevyanchenko. Unfortunately, Derevyanchenko, he's got that. He epitomizes that. Always the bridesmaid, never a bride. Poor guy's never been a world champion. He's probably the best fighter in our generation not to win a world title, and he probably won't. Great question.
It's like, who's your favorite? Who's the best fighter never to win a title? And I think he's definitely in the discussion. Plus 350 underdog. If you're feeling like Derevyanchenko can do that. Under 8.5 rounds. So Vegas believes that Mbilli's going to get him out of there under 8. Plus 160. Mbilli by stoppage plus money. Derevyanchenko decision. I could
see him overwhelming Sergey and getting him out of there just based on just activity.
TKO.
I could see it, yeah.
It could not like a knockdown, not a knockout, like the ref just waves it off.
Getting a stoppage.
Under 8.5 plus 160. That might be the play. As much as I love Derevyanchenko, but
yeah, same.
I love money more. And
I love money more.
Bet with
hey, girls that are in Dan's DMs, clip that. That's that. He loves the money more.
I do. Right now, that's the driving force in my life, is to make as much money as possible. It should be everyone's when they're at a certain age. Yep, that's the big fight this weekend. Guido Villanello is on the card as well.
Yeah, he's fighting that big Russian guy, right?
Guido Villanelli. Excuse me, I don't know why I said Villanello. Guido Villanelli is fighting Makhmadov. And Villanello is a plus 235 underdog? Wait, what the frig is going on here?
Villanelli's underdog?
So according to DraftKings.
Really? That's a good bet then. I think he can win that fight.
Minus 310. Makhmadov, minus 310.
Wow. Interesting.
Did you see this? Going back to the... watch the fights this week on ESPN. There's going to be fun fights. Guaranteed banger. And you get Chris on the international call. I just read a story before we started here from our friend Alan Dawson for, I believe, World Boxing News. Wrote a story on Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is potentially coming back in October in Orlando to fight for the IBF title, which right now is Bakram Murtaliev, who is the forgotten about champion at 154. No one ever mentions his name. I probably just butchered his name. I'm sorry, Bakram. But Tim Tszyu is reportedly October 19th, Orlando, Florida. I did not confirm this. This was not in the story. It could potentially be the first Prime Video non-pay-per-view attraction. And according to this story from Alan Dawson, is that Tszyu will then, after this, potentially fight Fundora again and Erickson Lubin or Virgil Ortiz or someone out there. Like, he's staying at 154, and he's not, according to this, not aligning with Turkey. But I love this fight. Zoo getting another title, if he could win, and then looking at some unifications.
I like that. I like Zoo. I like him getting in a title fight. I like him fighting back in the States. Even better that he's fighting close to my home here in South Florida. So, or that would be Central Florida, right? Orlando, Central Florida. But,
I've been there more times than I've been there like 7 times since last year.
That would be
Central Florida.
That would be a PBC fight.
That part of the story wasn't confirmed, but from what I hear and from some other stories out there, is Espinosa's been on record. Tim Smith has been on record. He's a PBC official. Espinosa's a PBC advisor. Is that they want to do more. They haven't done any yet. They want to do non-pay-per-view on regular Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can get a fight night. That was a part of the deal. That's what they said. And it was supposed to be one in mid-September. It was supposed to be Caleb Plant and Stephen Fulton doubleheader. But obviously McCumby got a cut, and they moved Plant to the Canelo card. So from what I'm hearing, we're going to get 2 to 3 Amazon regular Prime cards this year, and then a bunch next year. That's the plan.
I may have to drive out to Orlando for that.
Man.
I like Tim Zoo. Be a fan. I'll wear a disguise in the crowd.
Wear a McCumby. Did you see? People were saying, is McCumby and Algieri related? Did you see McCumby?
Yeah, we get that a lot. We used to get that in the gym because we were in the gym. We were at Robert Garcia's gym at the same time.
Who is Trevor McCumby?
Who is he?
Yes.
So he was a good amateur, like in the juniors. And then Top Rank loved him coming up because he had a great record. He was good looking. He was getting a lot of knockouts. And he had a couple decent step-up wins, and then he failed a drug test. Disappeared for like 5 years.
Yeah, gone.
And he got married. I think he had some kids, and now he's back. He still has
now he's fighting Caleb Plant on a Canelo pay-per-view.
He's got a sterling record. It looks amazing. He made his comeback on our ProBox TV air, fighting Chris Pearson. And yeah, see that, man. ProBox, you get on ProBox, man. It's a platform and a leapfrog. We're seeing so many guys get into big fights, after getting wins on ProBox. We're like the lost land of broken toys. Like,
but it's like,
if you've been out for a while, it's like,
come to ProBox. You can watch it on YouTube, watch it on the app, and I'm looking at his box rec right now. He looks like he could be like a long distant cousin of yours.
Yeah, he's
not fully like brother. He doesn't have the full genes.
No,
he has like cousin
not.
genes.
He's more like where's he from? He's like Bible Belt look to him.
Glendale. He was born in Illinois.
Okay. Actually, yeah.
31 years old. He came out with the Make America. He's MAGA. He came out with the MAGA starter kit. People were saying he had he had the red MAGA hat. He had a camo Carhartt hoodie. Someone said it was the MAGA starter kit. I was laughing at that. Yeah, I mean, not the 2018 to 2023. He just didn't fight because like I'm in the weeds. I'm in the trenches. Like, and when I heard his name, I was like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not familiar with this guy. And then I've been asking around.
I know I was in the gym with him for years. And
yeah, and then I was asking around at the Canelo presser and got the rundown on him. Like, a really good amateur, like you said, and was on a road to world title chance.
Top rank liked him a lot.
Well, we'll see what he's got against Caleb Plant. We had one of our listeners, Sunflower, that's her name on Instagram, loyal listener, and she's like, "How come you guys never talk about Caleb Plant?"
We do talk about Caleb Plant. We're trying to get him on the show.
Trying to get him on the show, and like, I think Caleb Plant is right in the mix at 168. He's talking about trying to get back in there with Canelo, which is not far-fetched, but I'm just happy to see Plant back in there. I'm happy to see him not fight in the crowd, which I feel like everyone's trying to get after him.
That's become kind of what he's known for.
What is this? Guy has like a target on his back? Like, is it like, hey, if I'm a nobody boxer, I can go after Plant and it's all over Instagram? I feel like that's what he's been known for.
You know what it is? And this is something that one of the reasons I don't go to fights. Fighters who go to fights, especially if you're not fighting, there's a lot of access, and people come up to him. People want to say shit, and he's not about that. So that's why you're seeing these altercations. Yeah. But I remember during my career, I hated going to fights. I don't want to go to fights because
plus you guys are just fighters.
I don't want to get into arguments with other guys, other fighters, other fans, and also dude, being a fighter is so stressful. Like, you're always stressed. Like, you live in just a constant state of anxiety and stress. Like, it's not fun being a fighter. Yeah, every moment is like, all right, you're just on edge at all times, ready to
especially
pounce.
when you fight for a living. Like, why are you going to fight and not get paid? Potentially break your hand,
it
break
doesn't
your
matter,
this.
dude. It's in you. You're just on edge and you respond, and it's like especially him. He's a counter fighter. I bet you he's a counter talker too. So
I mean, he slapped Charlo, which went super viral. Ryan Garcia went after him.
Yep.
And threw a drink at him. Or he threw a drink at Ryan Garcia, which he should have done way more to Ryan Garcia because Ryan said some heinous things about his lovely wife, Jordan Plant, who I've known over the years.
That's Ryan's MO.
Fucking guy. Criticizing CompuBox. Poof. I don't have anything against
the goal in this young man.
I have nothing against him. Like, listen, Lomachenko has done it too. He said he counted him and his dad did their own CompuBox on the Teofimo fight, and they had him landing like 100 more punches, which is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Like him and his dad firing up the fight, like taking out their own little keypad and counting themselves and giving
100 punches
and giving themselves that many more punches. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was someone leaving us another voicemail, which is an indication that we should get to the voicemails. Let's get to the voicemails. Let's end our show listening to you, the fan. All right, Chris, time for my favorite segment. We haven't done it in a while. It's the voicemail segment. You can call us at 631-403-0859. We got a bunch. We have a nice backlog, but we'll start things off with our guy, Perry.
Chris, Perry here. Huge fan as always. I wanted to kind of piggyback off of Chris's strong sentiments about the Canelo-Crawford fight last week. I mean, I'm very happy Chris was on board with my opinion that this is not a fight that interests him, because honestly, I've actually gone back and studied some tape on both Canelo and Crawford, and I take nothing away from Crawford. He is unquestionably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters today, as is Canelo. But one of the glaring deficiencies that I've always noticed at Crawford is his fighting skills on the inside. At close range, he's not quite as effective and comfortable as he is at mid to long range. And to me, Canelo is actually one of the most proficient inside fighters in boxing today. So that compounded with the size, I just don't see a way in which Crawford will be able to keep Canelo at range and distance for the full 12 rounds. Canelo is phenomenal at cutting off the ring. And once he gets on the inside...
Yeah, Perry was yapping. I'm going to cut him off. But you got the gist of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone who really is looking at it in an unbiased way there's weight classes for a reason, and stylistically the way things match up, especially after seeing the Madrimov fight, where some of those issues about Crawford's size and being on the inside, Canelo cuts off the ring really well. He's one of the best guys in the world. He does that. He does fight in the inside very well. He does have trouble closing the gap at times, but he really just kind of uses his head movement. He does have a quick jab. That's the thing. Canelo's not slow. I don't think he's actually very fast. He likes fighting bigger guys because he is the speedy guy. He's not going to be as fast as Crawford, but I think he's fast enough that he's going to be able to close that distance in a way that it's going to be really difficult for Crawford to deal with. And when it just comes to physical size, it's just they're two different sized humans. And we're talking about Canelo. We're not talking about just some big guy. It's not Joey Maxim versus Sugar Ray Robinson, where Joey Maxim was kind of an oaf, and Sugar Ray Robinson is Sugar Ray Robinson. No knock on Joey Maxim. He's just nowhere near the level.
I don't think he's listening
when you talk to these two, right? Fair enough. But
maybe his next of kin.
I think that might happen, but I'm not that interested in it, as I said.
I think that fight has lost all momentum. So Perry, who has called a couple times, thank you for the call, has been very vocal about not wanting to see Crawford Canelo. So I don't think we're going to see that, Perry. So I think you're in luck. Here is our next call. Hold on.
My question is, why nobody talks about Lamont Roach? He's a 130-pound WBA champion, and I know what you guys don't talk about the cruiserweight division either. Never hear about it. That's my take. All right, have a great day. Bye bye.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Lamont Roach. He's fighting him. Isn't he with Pro Box?
Yeah. We just I called his last fight. He looked fantastic when he fought McCrory. He's super talented. We didn't talk about him much because there wasn't much to talk about. He wasn't very active. He won his title and then kind of disappeared, and then ended up signing with ProBox. And then called his last fight, calling his next fight as well. I believe. I think he's fighting in December.
There you go.
There you go. And I've said it on other places that 130 is a bit of a wide open weight class, and the kind of guy he could be a guy that could make some noise there. He has a title, and he wants to unify. So why not?
As for cruiserweight, I mean, it's just a division like it's just never talked about. I mean, Usyk brought it some life. Holyfield was the name before that. I mean, it's just no one even stops at cruiserweight. They go from light heavyweight to heavyweight, or you're just a heavyweight. So cruiserweight has always been kind of just not really in the mix until
we don't highlight specific weight classes. We highlight fighters for the most part. Yeah. So like when we talk about Zurdo, like Zurdo's he's excellent, and we've actually said on here, like, I think he's a better cruiserweight than he was at light heavy. He looks really good at cruiserweight. So
Opatai versus Zurdo could be down the line. Briedis was good. The cruiserweights came into had their moment during that Super 6 or whatever it was called, the World Boxing thing. And then it kind of faded off.
Yeah, and that introduced us to Usyk. Him.
Which was awesome. And it just sucks that they won't do another one of those because it's just like so much money and so many fights fall out.
They were tough guys then too. Gassiev,
that was awesome.
Dorticos, that was really good. Those are good fights. Those are dangerous.
Yeah, but
fighters.
I heard it was like an absolute mess logistically, and like fighters falling out, and like the fact that they got 2 or 3 of those off. They did one at 140 too. That Josh Taylor beat Prograis. Was a small feat in itself to get all the promotional companies to work together. Like, I guess now the 5-on-5s are kind of taking that place, but those tournaments are pretty fucking cool.
We should do that more, especially now we have turkey money. So,
Turkey, if you're listening, tournaments.
So my first question is: Do you guys think that Junto Nakatani is the next Japanese star like Naoya anyway? Because I'm very high on him personally. And my second question is: who's your guys' favorite boxing prospect right now? In my opinion, I think it's Abdullah Mason. But I would love to hear your guys' answers. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Abdullah Mason. I don't even think Abdullah Mason's a prospect anymore. I think he's a top 10 lightweight. Some guy I like is this guy, Jean-Paul Rivera. He's been fighting on MVP cards. Mm-hmm. Really good. He's like 8 or 9-0. He's signed with Amanda Serrano. He's from Puerto Rico. He's caught my eye on these MVP shows that I call. He's deep down, though. I mean, this is very, like, 8-0, 9-0. Like, Abdullah Mason, like, I guess is a prospect, but...
Nah, he's still a prospect. He's about to cross over, but he's right there. I like him,
different levels of prospects.
I think he's super, super seasoned already. His what he does with the guys that are in front of him. I mean, what the stuff that he does, like, if you really watch him, he really is fantastic. I got a guy that I like, Jonathan Lopez.
Ooh, nice. Look at that. Box rec on the phone.
He's coming up right
now. Move it a little bit over.
16-0 with 12 KOs.
Nice.
He fought and beat Eduardo Baez. Like, Eduardo Baez is tough, like a really, really tough guy. And he did that in like his 13th pro fight, and won like a 7-3 scorecard on a 10-rounder, which is super impressive. I'm definitely high on him. But Abdullah Mason is I think head and shoulders above everybody. Emiliano Vargas I really like as well.
Yeah, I like Kermel Moutan. I mean, these are like the cream of the crop. These are the blue chippers.
Yeah. But Abdullah's probably the best of the bunch in terms of how close he is to being an actual contender.
Yeah. And for the first part of this question, this call was about Junto Nakatani, and he's knocking on the door. Yeah, he's knocking. He has huge fights ahead of him. He can potentially fight Bam, and he can potentially fight Inoue, and he can potentially win both those fights because of how really very talented he is, how big he is. Yeah, I think Junto Nakatani is the next wave in Japan, and behind Inoue.
He has a hybrid style because he trains over here. He trains out, in the West. He's got that Japanese Far East mentality of being in great shape, being super fundamental, having a warrior spirit, but he's got a little bit of swagger to him. changes levels, gets low. Like he's got that Americanized style. I think he's a really dangerous guy, and I mean he could be the guy to upset Inoue. I could see it because of his style.
That's like a huge all Japan battle.
That fight has to happen at some point.
I got to go to that. That's on my bucket list. Is UK for a fight, which I have not been to, which is nuts, and then Japan, Tokyo Dome. I just want to go to Tokyo. I just think it's one of the cooler cities from what I've seen. This is Will from Tallahassee.
Hey, Dan and Chris. This is Will from Tallahassee. I'm a huge fan of the show. Love everything y'all are doing. My question was, honestly, hopefully Better BF Bivol goes forward in October the way it's supposed to. Better BF's my favorite fighter. I really hope we get to see that fight. If it doesn't, there's been discussion about David Benavidez being the alternate for that and fighting Dimitri Bivol. That to me seems not not a great decision for his second fight at 168 after looking good against Vosdik, but not looking like the out of this world guy we saw at 168 previously. Just want to get y'all's opinion on the idea of Benavidez moving into that slot. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting. Better be.
I agree. I don't like Benavidez going right at Bivol. He looked good in the Vosdik fight, but I don't think we can get in the mind of Benavidez that way. That guy wants the biggest fights available, the biggest fights possible, but also he's got time, so he can get another fight in between that fight because we got to deal with Better BF Bivol first. That fight's a couple months away. Benavidez fought, about a month ago. So he's got time to get another fight in between there before he would even have to fight those guys. So
he's Benavidez is penciled in to fight in December.
Oh,
They're planning another Tank Benavidez doubleheader in Vegas at 175, which I think is the right move for Benavidez. You could talk the talk. You've done everything at 168, 175. You got in there with Vodzik, and it was a good performance. It's another one of these performances where you didn't just walk through a guy, so therefore everyone's like, he's got holes, he's got this, he's got that, he can't beat Beterbiev, can't beat Bivol. I don't believe in that. I thought he looked fine. I thought he looked better than fine against Vodzik. So let's get one more.
I think Vodzik looked good.
Yeah, let's get one more into your belt at 175. Find a good contender. Get in there, get a stoppage, or look even better, and then you can set your sights on Better BF Bivol. What's going on with Better BF Bivol? Did you hear anything with top ranked people last week? Because we're about a month or 2 months out from it. I guess we don't have to hear too much about it. I haven't got an update yet on Better BF's knee. A torn meniscus, I know isn't the biggest injury, and you can get through that pretty quickly. I haven't heard any updates on Better BF. I've seen Bivol was working out. That's it.
Yeah, no updates either. I've seen some Bivol stuff. I posted about Box Raw and stuff. Some of their workout videos and whatnot. But nothing definitive on where that fight's at.
Can you do some reporting this weekend, Chris? Go to Moretti.
I'll do some digging.
Go to Moretti. Go to Brad Jacobs. Say, guys, what's going on with Better BF? Is he going to fight? Is he fighting? Because I want to see that fight, number one. And if not, I want to see next best fight for Bivol. Or 175 is very intriguing. Canelo.
That's one of the best weight classes in the world.
Especially if you drop Canelo back into that, which is the big question. Because when I asked Canelo, I was like, would you 168? I feel like you've run through it. There's nothing left for you at 168, especially if you're not going to fight Benavidez. They're stripping you. The IBF has stripped you of one belt. Would you ever go to 175? And he said yes. And I would want to fight Bivol first. I want to avenge my loss to Bivol at 175.
That's what you're supposed to say.
Yeah. Or Bivol has said he'll do it at 168. That's a whole nother story. All right. Last voicemail. Here it is.
Hey guys, long time listener, first time caller. This message is for Canobio specifically, and my question is, really curious if you've ever been involved in a driveway boxing match involving whole cans. Just a question for the ether. This is Ronnie from Schmatterville. Thank you.
See, that's a friend. That is a friend, a whole hometown friend, and what he's bringing up, Chris, is my 21st birthday. Out on Long Island, summer. We go out in West Hampton. I get inebriated, of course. It's my 21st birthday.
No.
Pouring me shots. They made an announcement in the club that was my birthday. I'm doing mixing shots, all different types of liquor. And we go back to my buddy's house who just called there. And we're in the driveway. Of course, Long Island thing to do, hang out in the driveway 3 a.m. And one of my friends brings out Hulk hands. Like you've seen those, right? Like those big giant.
Yeah, I got
hands,
nephews. I know what Hulk hands are.
Hulk hands, like you're supposed to put like drinks in them, or like you. And we're like, Cobio, we're gonna box. It's your 20. Like you're a boxing guy, and everyone just took turns just blasting me. Like I was taking just straight left rights to the face, to the dome. Obviously,
while inebriated, that's really good for your brain.
While very drunk, and 21st birthday. Hulk hands. Next morning, I felt fine because I was 21 and hangovers didn't exist at that time. Go to the beach.
Those are the days.
Sit in the sun all day. Drink in the sun. Come back from the beach. That's when everything started to hit me. That's when I realized I probably have a concussion. I am hungover and I sat in the sun all day.
And I'm dehydrated.
Go out to dinner with my parents and
your
my
brain's
whole
broken
family.
At this point.
Broken. Go out to dinner with my parents and full family. And we're on the drive out to West Hampton. Are on Dune Road, for those of you that have ever been on Dune Road, or it's a very nice drive. And that's when everything started to kick in, and I started to feel horrible. I was like, oh my God. I had to leave the dinner table on my 21st birthday because I was so messed up between getting concussed and drinking. And it was not a good scene for me on my 21st birthday.
That's definitely brain damage, by the way. that is post-concussion syndrome, 100%.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Explains the last 10, 15 years of my life.
My friends and I, we used to just get gloves and box all the time. Like, family, like, we used to do that.
Box it out.
Yep.
We just played wiffle ball in my backyard. In the Algeri household, they just beat the hell out of each other.
My household we were just like a warrior clan of fighting boys. My brother was 4 sons.
Your brother definitely got the best of you a few times.
Hell yeah. He used to abuse me when I was growing up. He's a big boy. Strong.
You ever get him though? And was that the time where you're like, all right,
a couple times?
Choked
The first time I choked him out, I was like 13, and
like he was out.
Like he had to tap. Like
Good God.
Armbar. I've armbarred him before. Yeah. We listen. I'm trying to think. The worst. I hit him with a golf club really bad.
Oh God.
Really? Yeah.
We were using weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. You said he's a big guy. Yeah,
He is big. You guys got to fight dirty sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Fighting's fighting, man. You got to fight.
Oh man, that was my Hulk hand story in the Algeri clan using weapons of mass destruction. Unbelievable. Thank you everyone for the voicemails. That's really fun. We have a lot more to get to, and don't be afraid to call at any time. You don't have to call when we send out that prompt. You can call anytime you want at 631-403-0859. Great way to get involved with the show. So I appreciate everyone that called in. That is our show for this week. Chris is headed to Quebec City for the Mbilli Derevyanchenko fight. I'll be watching along with that. Sunday, I'm heading to Fanatics Fest in New York City. For Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, they are redoing it, baby. They're bringing them back out. I'll be in the middle of it, getting interviews. Peyton Manning apparently is going to be in attendance. I want to get some interviews with him, with Peyton Manning. I have some boxing questions for him, the sheriff. So it should be a fun weekend. I hope everyone enjoys it. Summer is rapidly coming to a close. I need everyone to join.
Yeah, school down here starts next week.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
School in August? No.
Yeah,
September.
In South Florida, too. Crazy.
The day after Labor Day. That's when school should start.
That's when it should start. But Florida's
If I was
crazy.
president. I was president.
You should run.
I'm thinking about it. All right, everybody. Protect yourselves at all times. Keep your hands up at all times. Stay out of those DMs unless you have Quebec things to do for our friend Chris Algieri.